Okay, time's up. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
So everybody in this room knows who I am, so I need no real introduction, but I'll do it anyway. I'm Scott. Hi, how's it going? I write horror novels. And today I would like to talk to you about something that is woefully neglected by a lot of authors, and that is primary research. Not only am I going to talk to you about primary research, I'm going to tell you not just why you need it, but why it's cool. Primary research is indeed very cool. Now, before we begin, I do not advocate doing anything illegal in the pursuit of writing. I do not advocate doing anything dangerous to your person or to others. This is not the only way to do this. This is the way that works for me. Above all else, please use common sense and be careful. Do not injure yourself or others in the pursuit of authenticity. There, that's my disclaimer.
Yes, yes.
Professional driver on a closed course or on the highway. So, why do we need to do primary research? Anyone?
Authenticity in writing?
Yes. Verisimilitude. What does that mean? Verisimilitude means authenticity. It's just a big fancy word for it that I really like to say. But it means authenticity. What does that mean? That means that when your readers are reading something that you've written, they won't cry bullshit on you. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to keep your readers interested, trying to keep them engaged, and trying to keep them from being pulled out of the moment by something that is so obviously fake that they pick it out, right? And the best way to do this is through primary research. So, what is primary research? Basically, it's experimenting. Investigating or, tests carried out to acquire data firsthand rather than being gathered from published sources. What does that mean? That means that instead of watching a movie to see how something works or reading a book to see how it works, that means actually going out and doing it. Going out and doing it is probably one of my favorite things to do. Why? Because I collect experiences. And every experience that I collect winds up in something that I've written somewhere. That way I know that if you fire a gun inside close quarters next to someone, you're not going to whisper, "Run around to the front." Why?
Can't hear a thing.
Because you can't hear a darn thing. The guy who's talking to you and you will be deaf. I actually wrote a scene where a guy had a firefight from a moving car. Not only did they not hit anything, because it's really hard to do in a moving car, but neither one could hear anything by the time it was over.
There's a reason why the military uses hand gestures to communicate.
Exactly. Because bang, 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 and all you hear is, "Eeeeee." That's it. Yes, sir.
What were you shooting at from a moving car?
Another car behind him.
I know, I meant.
Oh, what was I shooting at?
Another car
Just
behind
curious.
her.
No. For that one, I actually went to a person who had done a firefight in Iraq and talked to him about how hard it was to hit a moving target. Yes. No, I do not drive up and down the Texas roadways. Bang, 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 bang! It's for a book!
I thought that was what Texas was all about.
It kind of is.
I feel like Texas is one of the places you could do that.
It kind of is. It kind of is.
Especially if you're shooting a pencil with
So there are quite a few different types of primary research that I like to go through, and my favorites are the walkthrough, the experience collecting, and of course there are going to be others. A walkthrough means you actually map out the action by walking through it. It's kind of what it sounds like, right? This is really useful for fight scenes. It's really useful for crime scenes. It's really useful for, let's say, a dance. It's really useful for navigating your way around a restaurant or around any place. For a fight scene, we have it all up here in our heads, right? One guy fighting 6 people. So here he is fighting. Question is, what are the other 5 guys doing? So what do you do?
Twiddling their thumbs.
Huh?
They're twiddling
Yeah,
their
they're all
thumbs,
sitting there
waiting in
waiting
line.
for the first guy to beat him
Waiting in
up.
line.
Of course, of course.
Some of them.
Because that's how we work, right?
Clearly.
So what do we do with that? We gather up our nearest and dearest, 6 of our buddies, and get them all around us and go, okay, attack me. No, that's not what you do. You put them in places and say, okay, where's the spatial recognition? How would this work? Where's this guy going to be? What does my character, crime guy, need to keep in mind whenever he's fighting these other 6 guys? Crime scenes, it works wonderfully. Works wonderfully. One of my favorite things to do when I have to write a crime scene is to get a volunteer from my household. Volunteer, says Katie. I have in the past had people lay down under a table so that I could walk around them and go, shut up, you're dead. This is how this works. So I can see where their arms would be, how their hands would lay out. So I can find out how it would feel to try to drag them out from under that table. And believe me, when the giggles are over, it's really useful because you find out something. 235 pounds of dead weight cannot be moved by 120 pounds. Oh, no, I'm the 235. I'm the 235. No. Dead weight is really hard to move. Also, 120 pounds of dead weight is surprisingly hard to move. You know, you think about it and you go, no, I pick her up, I carry her over the threshold, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's when she wants you to pick her up. Dead weight is really hard to move. So, that's what a walkthrough is for. A walkthrough is so that you can get the physicality of any action and translate it accurately. Yes? Now, experience collecting. I'm a huge fan of experience collecting. Why? Because I get bored easily, right? So anything that looks interesting, or different, or exciting, actually anything that just looks different, I'm prone to try it. Horseback riding. I know we have at least 2 horseback riders in here. I haven't been horseback riding in a very long time, but I needed to write a scene where someone rides a horse. So what did I do? Well, I rented a horse, and I rode the horse. And I learned a few things about it. Horseback riding, there's a certain physicality with horseback riding that you don't get from watching cowboy movies. Sorry, you just don't. Firing a gun. I grew up in Texas. Yes, I'm a 6th-generation Texan. I had never before in my life fired a handgun before a friend of mine who lives here took me to a gun range. There are a lot of things that people don't cover about firing a handgun. Everybody talks about the sound. Lots of folks talk about the muzzle flash. Everybody talks about the kick. Nobody ever talks about the taste, because there is one. There's that weird, grainy, smoky taste. Basically, it's like burning gunpowder hits your teeth. And for the rest of the day, you're trying to get all that out of your teeth. But nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever talks about a lot of this stuff. So that's why I like to do experience collecting. I like to go hiking in places where I've never been before. Why? It's a whole new terrain. It's all fodder for my next book. One of my most recent books that I just finished was set in a place called Roy Creek. It's a place I've been camping. It is a horrible place. But the reason that I know that is because I've been there. And I went out into it, and I can tell you exactly which cave I was talking about. I can tell you which trail I meant, which path by the river I was talking about. And because I've been to these places, and because I've done this, it has a certain sense of verisimilitude. I really love that word. It's such a great word, isn't it? So, the walkthrough. Fight scenes, crime scenes, chases, parks and trails, kidnapping and abduction scenarios. How many people have actually been in the trunk of a car? This man has. Yeah, but that's a typical Thursday for you. Okay, so I had to write a scene in the first book of the Stanley Cooper Chronicles where someone was thrown in the back of a car and kidnapped. So what did I do? Called my wife, my first wife, and said, hey, you want to do something weird? She said, what? I said, you're going to put me in the trunk of the car and just drive around for a little bit. She said, sure. I said, let's talk about this for a minute.
I didn't do that.
No, we didn't talk about it. I did, however, everyone stare at Anna. Hi, Anna. So my point is, because I actually got in the trunk of a car and let someone drive me around in the trunk of a car, I was able to tell people what that was like. I was able to say, yes, it's dark. Yes, it's stinky. Yes, it's hot. Yes, you can feel every bump in the road. And that little glow-in-the-dark handle where you can grab it and pop the trunk open, those are great if the car has them. Mine did not. You do feel like you're going to suffocate. Whether there's air in there or not, you feel the sense of claustrophobia, even if you're not claustrophobic. Okay? What else? What other things are good for walkthroughs? Anyone?
Sex scenes.
Say, yes, absolutely.
You're
Sex-
Sorry, romance writer.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta know where all the appendages are.
Yeah. You get your partner and you say, hey, I want to try something. No, it's for a book. Yeah. What else?
City streets. People
City
screw
streets.
that up all the time. As far as,
Absolutely.
you know, building ratios, what you can see, how far you can see, the crowds.
Absolutely. If you are setting a scene in a real city, by God, go to that city. Track where your character goes. See how this works. Yeah? I mean, it's the simplest thing. It takes very little time. And it's a lot of fun. Huh?
Money, though. to
What
get
about
to
it?
that- To get to that city.
Okay. What's your point?
We're writers,
There's
we
a
don't
point.
have any.
But there's a point to that too. There's something about that too coming up. But yes, you're absolutely correct. For example, if you set a scene in downtown Austin, and you do not go to downtown Austin, you will talk to your character. You can look at a map all you want to, and you can get the names of the streets right, and you can get everything about them right. What will you not get?
The flavor of the city.
Flavor of the city.
The
You
smell.
will not see the little coffee shop that mom and pop opened up on the corner. You won't see the homeless people on the street. You won't be able to tell me what traffic is like. I mean, it's really one of the coolest things in the world to walk into a city and to just be an observer and see what's going on there. It's so neat. Plus, if you just drive around and get lost, you find some of the coolest stuff. It's true. It's absolutely true. First thing I like to do when I move to a new city, take one day, drive completely aimlessly. Do not drive for more than 15 seconds in a straight line. Turn, 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 turn. Get lost as a goose, then try to figure out how to get back home without GPS. Yeah. Oh, you find some great stuff there. Absolutely. Now, experience collecting. Horseback riding, shooting, motorcycling. I took up riding a motorcycle. Because I took up riding a motorcycle, I know that you can, in fact, smell the highway when you're riding. I also know that riding without a windscreen is brutal. I know a lot of things about riding a motorcycle, and I can translate those things. I know, for example, that when you are riding top speed on a Harley-Davidson 883 without a front windscreen, you are not having conversations with the person riding behind you. You're just not. You know why? Because you can't hear anything. Not only that, you're doing this the whole time because it feels like your neck's going to pop off. Okay? Ride-alongs. Ride-alongs are great. Everywhere that you live, there is a police force, we hope. And in almost every police force, there's one guy whose job it is to do public relations. That's the guy you call and say, hey, I'm a writer. I want to know more about police procedure. Can I do a ride-along? Guess what? They'll put you in the front seat of a cruiser and let you ride along with a cop on patrol that night. Can you get any better information than that? It doesn't get more real. That's an excellent source of primary research, right? We've already talked about observations. Skydiving. Skydiving. If you've never been skydiving, you don't know what it's like. Skydiving is something that I intend to do. I've talked to a great many people that have done skydiving, and there are quite a few things that I can't wait to experience. The rush of wind past your face, the fact that you can't hear anything, the feeling that you get when you notice that that big flat space called the ground is coming straight at you. I've always wanted to experience that, and I'm going to experience that because that is my type of primary research. Different kinds of sports. How many people in here are good at sports? I know, I'm in a room full of writers, I'm sorry.
None of us are sportsers.
Yeah, none of us are sportsers, yeah.
I don't count karate as a sport.
No, I do not either. However, I do count MMA as a sport.
Yeah.
MMA is a sport. Soccer, baseball, football, whatever. What if you have to write something about that? What if you have to write something about, let's say, a rugby game? Everywhere that you live, there's at least one or two teams that are rugby teams. They may not be affiliated with anybody, but basically it's a bunch of hooligans who like to get together and beat each other to death. That's
Drink.
kind of how we roll, right?
And drink.
And drink. So what do? You find him. You contact him, you say, look, I'm a writer. I want to know what this is like. Do you mind if I get in on a scrum with you?
Sure, come on.
Sure,
in.
and they will. Oh yeah, fresh meat, they love it. Same thing with roller derby. Hell yeah, I'm a writer. I want to know what it's like to roll around the rink and do a, whatever this is called. And oh yeah, they love that. They'll be like, sure, come on in. Let me show you what it's like to body check someone right over the edge. But it's great stuff because once you've done it, you know what it feels like. And then you can begin the process of figuring out how to accurately describe it to your readers, okay? As far as weird life experiences go, oh, and also foods. Holy cow, foods. You may have noticed, I'm a food person. I like food. Everywhere that I go, I try to find the flavor of the city, okay? California, don't even try. But it's such a hodgepodge, really. But in Texas, what is it? Barbecue. Barbecue and Tex-Mex. You can find good barbecue in Tex-Mex, you found the flavor of Texas. You really have. So everywhere that you go, try new foods. Why? Because they say so much about the people, but also it adds that sense of authenticity to what you're writing. Yeah? Yes, sir.
As a correlation to that, Lawrence Conley said a good way to get some characterization down is get them in the kitchen. So you can try new recipes as part of your walkthrough experience in conjunction with foods.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Figure out how hard it is to cook a particular dish. Yeah? That tells you a lot about a person. If they're willing to go through all the crap to cook haggis, that tells you a lot about that person. Person desperate. So yes, sir.
If you have this experience collection and you're really fired up about it, you know about it, could there be a danger, and I found it is, that once you start writing, you're so enthused about that you put too much into the writing, too much about it?
Absolutely, but that's what the revision process is for.
That's what it is for.
Your first draft is your first draft. Vomit out as much as you can on the page. Get as much of it out there. Why? Because that's what needs to be there. And then once you're done, pull it back in. Once you're done, go, okay, maybe I didn't need to say how much paprika was in that.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't need to say every tiny ingredient in haggis. Maybe I, and pull it back from there. But for that first draft, throw it all in there.
Okay.
Get it all in. What others? What other things are good for experience collecting?
Skiing.
Skiing?
Skiing.
Skiing. Yeah. I've never been skiing.
You haven't skied.
I've never
And
been
you try to
skiing.
describe skiing, like, I'll just laugh at you.
Yeah.
Lots of hiking and lots of different terrains.
Yeah. Lots of different
There are
terrains.
People that have their characters walking through woods that have never actually walked through woods.
At night.
Right?
Yeah, at
Walking
night.
through woods at
Yeah.
night
Or-
and
or
nobody
ga-
trips.
Or galloping horses through
Right.
woods at night, and I'm like,
horse riding.
You
Dude, you're
want
gonna
to-
die.
You want to die and you want to kill an innocent animal. which-
And you want to look ridiculous while doing it.
Yeah,
Right.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. What else?
SCA battles.
SCA, oh yes, SCA battles are great.
You want to
How
learn how to
many,
write a battle scene in a fantasy novel, go to one of those events.
yeah, how many folks in here are fantasy writers? Yeah, okay. Do you have a battle scene in which somebody's wielding a two-handed sword? Yeah, try it.
Mhm.
I love reading scenes from ones in which a student has written a scene that says they battled for 4 hours and the man swung the sword the whole time. I went, time out. Go and pick up a 15-pound weight and try to swing it for a minute. 1 minute. Let's see how long you last. I got an email back from a student that I suggested this to, and she said, I couldn't do it for 5 seconds. But he's been doing it his whole life. I said, okay, go find the biggest dude you can, get him to do it, see how long he does it. Because there is something distinctly different about saying, like in the movies, they can show people fighting all day long. Why? They have so many takes they can do of it, the swords aren't real, blah, blah, blah. So many reasons. But when you actually get that weight in your hand and you're trying to fight with it, way different. Way different. And you'll discover something. Certain swords are easier to work with than others. It's true. You'll also discover what a pain in the neck it is, but how wonderful it is to have that shield on your arm. Because this thing, it's clumsy. Really clumsy. And it's hard to negotiate between swinging a sword and getting the shield up. Really hard. But if you don't know that, you'll write something that's not quite believable. And we're going to call you one. Why? Because we can.
And a lot of people don't understand that, like with any martial art, that attack, that swinging sword is not just the arm, it's the body that goes into it.
That's right. You don't swing a sword with your arm. You swing a sword with your whole body. That's absolutely correct. And there's a big difference between a Chinese sword and a katana. And a big difference between a katana and a ninja toe. And a big difference between a Chinese sword, a katana, a ninja toe, and a Tai Chi sword. Huge difference between all of them. So if you just say a sword, we're going to be like, oh, okay, what kind? How does it feel to swing it? See what I'm saying? So that's experience collecting. I love experience collecting. Now, here are a few common problems that I have discovered that could have been solved with some decent primary research. For starters, gunfire from a handgun does not blow someone through a window. I do not care what size gun you're shooting. For the most part, if you get shot with a handgun, your reaction is going to be, fuck. And that's really about it until you fall down and you're dead. Right? If someone fires a gun next to you, you can't hear. We've already discussed this. One thing I didn't mention, though, if somebody fires a high caliber handgun next to you, you can feel it in your chest. That impact is terrifying if you're not actually expecting it. The person who took me out shooting was Nikki and Ward Hopeman. They took me out shooting, and Ward has this hand cannon. I don't even know what caliber it is. I have no idea. The thing probably fires bullets that big around. I don't know. But he was standing in the stall next to me. I'm wearing eye protection, ear protection. He's standing in the stall next to me. And all I hear is, boom. And it felt like someone punched me in the chest. And I wasn't even standing there with him. I mean, the concussion from that thing was massive. And Ward looked around the corner and went, and went back to what he was doing. And I'm like, no more. I'm done. Okay? But that's something that you need to know. That's something that is great. And no one, and I say no one, very few people can fire accurately with a gun in each hand.
Mythbusters did that.
Yeah, Mythbusters did that. I'm sure that with enough training, you can do it. But if Joe Blow, your character, who just happens to pick up a gun that someone's dropped, one in each hand, without any training, bang, 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 he's going to miss everything he's firing at. Absolutely. And also, bang, 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 bang is not how that works. What?
Something like that is only good for suppressing fire anyway.
Right.
At best.
Well, it's the spray and pray. That's basically what it is, the spray and pray technique. God, I hope I hit something, please. That's what that is. Sword play. Swinging a sword is tiring. It is really actually very hard to cut a head off with one blow. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. There's bone, lots of tendons. Unless you really know what you're doing, it's kind of hard to cut a head off with one blow. Most of the time you're going to hit it and then try it again and try it again, and I'll tell you how I know that later. You ever notice how there are a lot of ones that quit the program? That's why. No, that's not.
Ours usually.
If you say he drew the sword from off his back, I am going to laugh at you.
Mhm.
Now there are certain swords that you can draw from off your back, but if you say he drew a broadsword from off his back, you obviously did not do your research, because you're going to go, heh,
Is he a gorilla?
Someone's watching too much Beastmaster.
and then you'll have it out.
Or you'll get gutted by your opponent first.
Yeah, or actually you might kill your opponent because they're laughing too hard now. Just saying. Okay? Knife play. Now there are certain designs of knives that make this easy, but in actuality, most knives are really hard to pull out of a human body. Why?
Because there's lots of stuff in there.
Not just that, it creates suction.
I was gonna say suction.
Yeah. You stab a human body, the body is designed to heal itself, yes? So when you stab something into it, that wound is going to hold together, and that knife, you're going to lose it. Because when you try to pull it out, you're going to go right out, and there's blood on the handle. It's gone. Okay? It's damn near impossible to throw a knife and make it stick. It is absolutely impossible to throw a knife at someone and bury it up to the hilt on that person. And if I ever read someone else say, the knife was stuck up to the hilt in his head,
Really?
Seriously?
It went through the eyeball,
I have-
obviously.
how deep do you think that cavity is? I mean, honestly, this is bone. Really, Anna?
Maybe,
Really?
maybe, so sorry. Maybe the soft spots in their skull never heal, never,
Okay, if that's the case, then we need that set up ahead of time.
and
Yeah, we need that set up ahead of time. Here's another interesting thing. Here's another interesting thing that they never point out. No one ever points this out, and you see it on The Walking Dead. You see it on almost every show where someone gets stabbed in the head with a knife. Take a knife, stab him in the head. This is bone, right? What's the first thing that's going to happen?
You're gonna slide off.
Yeah, it's going to be deflection, number one. And number two, if you're trying to do it with a kitchen knife, and don't ask me how I know this, your hand will slide right down the blade and cut your hand open.
Those fingers.
Stitches, yeah. Not on a head. Maybe on a head.
watermelon.
Maybe on a head. But anyway, that's my point. If you don't know this kind of stuff, if you don't go out and you try this kind of stuff, you don't do your primary research on it, you're going to keep making the same mistakes that a lot of these people have been making for a long time. And I feel like it is our job as writers, not just to tell stories, but to elevate the form of telling stories. We want to be better than the people that came before us, right? I want my students to be better than me. So that's just how that works, right? Other common problems that could have been solved. Now, in my experience from horseback riding, there is no such thing as a comfortable trot. From my experience,
were you posting?
no, I learned to ride Western and my legs are too short to post. Also,
Well,
the
then,
horse
yeah,
was,
there's no such thing as comfortable.
also the horse was fat. Here's something else about a fat horse that no one will tell you unless you've actually done it. Makes your knees hurt. Seriously. If you are on a fat horse, your legs are bending around the side, and this right in here, that hurts like the dickens.
They're also really warm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes they are.
Especially if you run a horse, I mean, like, they're sweating. Like,
Yeah.
if you were, like, like,
You will not have a character that
Yeah.
rides all day long and then goes to the ball. No.
No.
Why? Because he's going to be sweaty and gross by the time he gets, well, he might go to the ball. I don't think he'd make it in. I don't think anybody would let him in the ball. Okay. Also, I'd like to point out, horses bite. They do in fact bite. And when horses bite, it does not feel good. That's because they have big honking teeth. I have been bit by a horse.
What did you do?
I did nothing. He was in a bad mood, and they warned me, this horse bites.
Oh, yeah, well, some horses bite.
Yes, they will bite if you make them angry.
Yeah.
Yes.
But so do some people.
Most things will bite if you make them angry. I'm just, sorry.
Well, I don't have to be
I'm
angry.
just heckling.
Anyway, point is, motorcycling. Now, as I've already said, you're not going to be having a conversation because you can't hear, but you can. Here's something that you won't know unless you actually ride. If when you're riding, you turn your head, you can hear out of this ear. So you actually will be able to have a conversation with the person behind you, but not if you're wearing a full face helmet.
And not if they won't ever hear you.
They'll hear, actually, Katie can hear me just fine.
Well,
Yeah, yeah. Also because I'm loud and I'm obnoxious, but, you know, the main thing is that if you do need to hear someone, the easiest thing to do, turn your head, and you can actually hear out of your ear, out of the one to the back. The one in the front, nah, you're stone cold deaf, can't hear anything. You can't hear anything through a full face helmet. Also, I should point out, bugs and rain hurt at 80 miles an hour. They feel like tiny bullets. So, if you have a hero, it's raining, he has to rush to save the heroine. He finds a discarded motorcycle and he jumps on it and goes and guns it and rides it. I don't care how tough you are. You're going to stop and go, "Ow, it hurts so bad." You
You're
will.
not gonna drop the bike in the, on the.
Oh, yeah,
too,
roads are slick,
especially if
too.
you've never ridden before.
Yeah, yeah. Riding a motorcycle is not like riding a bicycle. It's very, very different. And if
Sorry,
you,
I just,
what?
like, I'm sure that there are people who think it is.
I know, and that's why I'm saying, do your primary research. Folks, getting a motorcycle license, you may have no interest whatsoever in riding a motorcycle, okay? Getting a motorcycle license is fun, it's easy to do, and it also allows you to add that sense of authenticity to your work if you happen to be writing about it. So if you're gonna be writing about a motorcycle, about motorcycle chases, motorcycle riding, anything like that, do yourself a favor. Go take a motorcycle safety course. Get your bike license. You may find out you really like it, number one. And number two, make your writing better. Yes?
I was just saying, it's an interesting corollary. If you're a science fiction writer and doing stuff with like near light speed starships, if a bug hurts at 8 miles an hour, imagine what a little micrometeor is going to do to your ship
Oh,
at
yeah.
near light speed.
Yeah, you better figure out how to protect your ship. Absolutely. See, and you can draw parallels between all of this stuff and other pieces. Yes?
My mother-in-law is a teeny tiny little lady who had a Harley, like the smallest Harley they make. And
I like her already.
And she had to, she passed away last year.
Oh, I'm very sorry to hear that.
So she was awesome. But she had a Harley. And she had to like super special order a crazy kickstand support for it, because if the bike got laid down on the ground, she was physically incapable of getting it back. Like, she would have to find somebody else to lift the bike up for her. Like,
Yeah. And
So-
how many times have you read in a book or seen in a movie? They're off the bike and the little tiny person goes over and goes, "Oh, darn it," picks it up by the handlebars.
Yeah,
And jumps on it and rides
like,
off.
this thing is a beast.
I know.
Like-
You know how to,
Yeah.
just for a small piece of information, do you know how you pick up a motorcycle? Anyone?
Not by the handlebars.
Not by the handlebars, no. You back up to it, hook your hands under it, and squat it backwards. You do a deadlift with it. That's how you pick it up. You know why? Because you ain't getting it up otherwise. That thing's 800 pounds. You're not going to do it. And if you don't know that, and you write, he picked it up by the handlebars, everybody that knows about it is going to call bullshit on you. Yes?
And laying a bike down can be a really bad thing to, also because there may be some breaks in the fuel lines or something, anything external.
Oh, yeah.
Comes out from the engine can be damaged.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Driving on gravel, I'm terrified of it. Absolutely terrified of it. You know? Here's another interesting thing.
Riding a bike on gravel sucks too.
Yeah. Here's another interesting thing. If you weigh less than 130 pounds, picking up or standing up while it's still on the kickstand. Standing up, even the smallest motorcycle that Harley Davidson makes, is really a chore. How do I know that? She tried to pick up my Harley. Didn't work.
Yeah, no, the kid,
500.
She can pick up a 500, but the 883 she can't do.
yeah, the kid was probably.
Now, what's another thing that we can do? Because obviously we do not want to go out and abduct people and cut their heads off. Right?
Pigs.
Well, we may want to.
Pigs.
Pigs are good. Substitutions are wonderful things for you, right? Head injury, knife, use a watermelon. Watermelons are great for that. Pig carcasses are better but can become really expensive. That's why I like to use watermelons. Also, for some reason it cracks me up to put on a little samurai bandana and stand in the backyard with my katana and go, "We having fruit salad!" Whack! That just makes me giggle. I mean, really. You know? Cantaloupes, watermelons, all that kind of thing, they make good substitutions for body parts. Why? Because it has a pulpy interior, has the hard shell on the outside. It's a good facsimile. It is nowhere near as good as using a pig carcass. Like I said, pig carcasses are a little hard to come by for some folks, and slightly pricey, right? Plus, then when you get done, what do you do with the cut up pig carcass, really? You know, I mean, okay, we're having ribs.
They're in Texas.
We're having a luau.
But in some areas, you may also be able to find like deer processing,
Sure.
and they may very well let you have at something that otherwise they're.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hacking off a limb, bamboo wrapped in grass mats. Bamboo is incredibly hard. And it is the closest thing to human bone that I have ever come across. The grass mats give you just enough resistance so that it simulates flesh and bone, or flesh and muscle and sinew. So if you set up a piece of bamboo wrapped in grass mats, take a machete, see how long it takes you to get through it. Seriously.
It's almost like what do they call it? The Tommy mats.
Yeah, Tommy mats. Yeah, absolutely. Those are a little expensive too. I prefer to make my own because they're cheap and I'm Scottish. But point is, try it. See how long it takes you. You'll be surprised. It'll actually probably take you 2 or 3 cuts to get through a human arm. Seriously. So if you cut it off in one swipe, that's movie bullcrap right there. That's what that is. Getting into a firefight, please do not start a firefight or commit suicide by police. Don't do that. But grab a bunch of your buddies and go play paintball. It's all the fun of dying in warfare without the commitment. Right? And believe me, you get hit by a paintball, you're going to feel it. So you get that sense of fear of, boy, I really don't want to get shot. But you can figure out how to hide, figure out how people can move around you. Being in a firefight and playing paintball, it's the closest thing that you can get without actually going to war. Seriously.
See
Airsoft works for that.
see how exhausting it is. Too.
Oh yeah, see how exhausting it is. Airsoft works for that too. I still recommend wearing safety gear because, it hurts. Yeah? What other substitutions can we use? Yes?
Use the power of the internet to find any local film crews that work in special effects, because they can make mock-ups of things like human bodies for you to try to hack through as well, in addition to using like watermelon and grass mats.
Mhm.
They'd be more than happy to help you out if they need
For a
somebody
nominal
to
fee.
Yeah, for a fee,
Yeah.
or if they need somebody on the crew to help make some gore.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What else?
So
Sex scenes, I heard that.
I'm
sorry.
I would recommend, like, if you're doing military stuff, maybe trying like the Warrior Dash or something. Some of those obstacle courses where they can
Sure.
combine so I think the Warrior Dash is like 5K, which is a manageable training schedule. But I mean, I went to the Marine Corps Officer Candidate School, and I think that was about as close as you could get as a civilian to like actually getting training. I don't know if you had any other ideas.
Well, Thomas Harris, when he wrote Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal and all of that, he actually went to Quantico.
They let him take the training
Well,
or observe?
Have
maybe?
you ever seen Thomas Harris? He's built like
No.
me. He's kind of a So he watched the training real closely, but they let him observe the training. And he went, wow, you guys look like that sucked. Training sucks. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, if it were me, I would be like, guys, come on, let me try it. Let me just try it once. They'd be like, okay. And yeah, they'd let my fat little ass go run through there. And it would be bad comedy, but it would be something that I could add into a book. Yeah? What else, guys? Anything else that you can think of right off the top of your head now that I'm putting you on the spot? No? Okay. Moving on. Now, what are the benefits to this? And this is the really important slide. One of them. First off, we become more rounded individuals. The more things that you do, the more experiences you have, the larger your view of the world. And being in a larger world makes you a much more interesting person. I have had a very interesting life. I have done a lot of weird stuff, and I have enjoyed every minute of it. I have more injuries than I care to count. I have more nagging injuries than I care to count. And I had a lot of fun getting this way. Absolutely. And I will continue to treasure those memories, and I will continue to draw on them, because broadening our experiences transfers to our writing. You also get a real good story to tell. Oh, no, really. I was telling Katie when we got married, she said, what if everything goes wrong? I said, those make the best stories. The wedding that went horribly awry. Oh my God, the mother-in-law showed up tanked. You know, the ex-girlfriend showed up pregnant. That's the best kind of story to tell, because you look at everybody and you go, no, no, and then what happened, right? Most importantly, though, anything done in the name of research is tax deductible. Bang. Yes, I'm going to a foreign city to go walk the streets, and I can write it off because it's research. Yeah, seriously. Anything that you do in the name of research, if you can prove that it's done in the name of research, folks, believe it or not, you're a business, okay? Just for a moment, let me point this out. As a writer, you are a self-employed business person, okay? Writing is your business. You are the only employee, right? So this becomes a business expense. I want to go figure out how to do skydiving, so I'm going to do the skydiving thing where you don't actually jump out of a plane. They put you in a big tube full of pressurized air and you go for about 10 minutes, right? Actually, it's not 10 minutes. That's not even close. Point is, I'll be like, oh, that was how much? 300 bucks? Huh. Well, I'm writing about that in my next book. Tax deductible. Okay? And it actually gives you kind of a sense of freedom going, okay, but this will come off my taxes later.
Can I ask you a question? Are you
Absolutely.
a sole proprietor, or are you a LLC?
I'm the sole
You
proprietor.
Okay.
I am. I'm not an LLC yet because I haven't been able to afford to file paperwork. But I am the sole proprietor of American Horror Writer. That's the name of my business. Also known as creepylittlebastard.com. Yeah, I actually do own that. I own that domain name, creepylittlebastard.com. Yeah. I was really surprised that was available there. And also, of course, provides you with a sense of verisimilitude. Still love that word. Can't hear that word without seeing Jim Carrey say it in a series of unfortunate events. Just can't, because I think it's just, he gives it the best slimy, smarmy presentation of that word. It's a great word. So in conclusion, as writers, we become armchair experts in a lot of subjects. Our readers are smart and unforgiving, and if we insult their intelligence, they're unforgiving if we insult their intelligence. We owe it to them to know what we're talking about, and experience is and always has been the best teacher. Now as I said, we become armchair experts in a great many subjects. I know more about poisons than any human being should probably know. If by the time you retire and or die, if there is not an FBI file on you somewhere, you have not been doing your research. Seriously. You're going to Google a whole lot of fun stuff, you know?
When I Google things like how to build a bomb out of a pressure cooker, I know there's some dude in the CIA office going, that son of a bitch is at it again. Right? So, primary research is the best way for you to connect with your reader, the best way for you to let your reader know, hey, not only do I know what I'm talking about, but I care enough about what I write so that I will make it accurate for you. Yes? And the final slide is that one. Questions? Comments? Anything, folks? I'm scheduled to be in here until 10 till, and I have managed to get here, I've managed to be done slightly at 4 minutes early. How's that for timing? Yeah? Yeah, I know. Any other questions, any comments, or anything like that? No? No? Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.